Hello Varlets and Happy New Year. This was supposed to be the end of the year video for 2023, but because of festive shenanigans, this video ended up being pushed to become the first video of 2024. In this video, I'll go through all the hidden mechanics, interactions and combos I've covered in my previous videos, and some I have yet to release. This gives you, whether you are a new player starting or a more seasoned varlet, a resource you can use to enhance your build crafting and gameplay performance. If you've been watching all of my videos, then you'll probably know most if not all of the things I'm about to cover here. For some of you, this might be brand new information that you might not have seen before. For others, these will simply be reminders about mechanics and combos you might already be familiar with. This video is organized by class, so if you are interested in learning something about a particular class, you can skip back and forth to see what interests you at the time. Enjoy! Let's start with Ogryns. Number 1. Bull Rush Breaks. The bull rush of the Ogryn can be stopped early by pressing the back pedal key. This allows you to better control how far you want to travel, letting you stop when you want to without placing yourself too far out of position. There is a minimal travel distance of 5 meters, and stopping as soon as you can allows you to make use of the attack speed buff from your bull rush more reliably. Number 2. Pulverising Collision. The Pulverize talent allows your bull rush to apply 5 stacks of bleed whenever you collide with enemies in your path. However, enemies that are hit right as your bull rush stops count as getting hit twice. This applies 10 stacks of bleed instead, dealing a lot more damage and allowing you to start the fight with the enemy bleeding profusely on the floor. Best paired with a weapon that has the Skull Crusher blessing. Number 3. Point Blank Barrage Reload. One of the most powerful aspects of Point Blank Barrage is the instant reload. This not only skips any reload animation, but it lets you continuously fire your weapon without pause. For single-shot weapons like the Kickback or Rumbler, activating it immediately after firing allows you to get 2 back-to-back shots for a massive burst of damage. For weapons like the Ripper Gun and Heavy Stubbers that can roll with continuous fire blessings like Blaze Away and Inspiring Barrage, activating Point Blank Barrage before you run out of ammo allows you to preserve the buffs, giving you a fresh magazine with the benefits of these blessings fully stacked up. Number 4. Slab Shield Attention Seeker. The Ogryn's Attention Seeker talent allows you to force enemies that you push or block to attack you for 8 seconds. This is marked by their head glowing orange-red. With a Slab Shield, you are able to block range attacks from shooters and shotgunners, taunting them with Attention Seeker. This causes them to stop shooting and instead pull out their melee weapon and engage you in melee combat. This is great for forcing shooters out of position and cover while you push the front lines. Do note that this does not work against gunners and reapers. Number 5. Void Shield Ripper. The Void Shield on assassination bosses has an interesting mechanic attached to it. It has an upper limit on the maximum number of damage a single hit can deal to it. It also receives 3 times the damage from melee attacks and has a 50% damage reduction against range attacks. However, because the Ripper Gun has a very high fire rate and can hit very hard at close ranges, they are very effective at tearing apart void shields, even against the range damage resistance. When combined with Point Blank Barrage, a Ripper Gun can shred through the void shield between its increased fire rate and burn stacks, allowing you to absolutely decimate assassination targets and the twins in the author's offensive. If you would like more build-specific stuff to battle against the twins, check out the farming guide I released back when the mission first came out. You'll learn more about how to deal with the twins specifically instead of the general assassination bosses in this part. Next, we have Zealots. Number 6. Extended Fury. The Zealots Chastise the Wicked or Fury of the Faithful combat ability has a base range of 8 meters when no enemies are around. However, if there are enemies present, you can hold the ability to enter a targeting mode, allowing you to mark enemies up to 20 meters away. Enemies that are marked have a faint orange glow around them, and releasing the ability causes you to charge towards them from a much greater distance. This makes closing the gap between ranged enemies very effective. Enemies you rush into are also staggered, giving you the ability to interrupt most enemy attacks and opening them up to being hit. Number 7. Armour Nullification. A hidden but intended mechanic of the Zealot's charge is its ability to nullify armor. Whenever you activate your charge, for the next 3 seconds, you have a buff that allows you to reduce the armor grade of any enemy you hit by 1. This buff lasts for 3 seconds or until your next melee attack within that time frame. The most important part of the Armour Nullification mechanic is that Carapace armor is treated as if it was Flak armor instead. This allows any weapon you have that would normally do next to nothing against Carapace to actually deal damage effectively, and is especially the case for many ranged weapons. Number 8. Eternal Piety. Blazing Piety is an incredibly powerful damage boost. essentially acting as a free 15% crit chance for just being near enemies that die from you or your allies. The Fury Rising modifier sends the uptime of the talent through the roof, allowing you to constantly build up and refresh Blazing Piety's 8-second timer every time you land a crit. This provides you with an overall damage boost against single targets like bosses and monsters, even if you have no enemies around to kill. Picking up Righteous Warrior adds a further 10% crit chance, pushing your crit buff up to 25%. You can further increase the potency of the keystone by incorporating Scourge into your build, allowing your crits to apply 2 stacks of bleed, which in turn further increases your overall crit chance when you strike a bleeding enemy. Pairing all of these talents together creates an ability cooldown engine with Invocation of Death, allowing you to rapidly regain your abilities with near constant crits. Number 9. Phantom Strike. The Zealot's Shroud Field is capable of dealing huge amounts of damage with a guaranteed crit, alongside a 100% increase in crit, weak spot and backstab damage. It has a short activation delay to prevent you instantly losing your Shroud Field from accidentally hitting something unimportant. However, in this short window of time, the guaranteed crit and damage bonuses are still active, allowing you to get multiple attacks off before actually using up your Shroud Field. This is especially useful with the Revolvers, giving you the capability of annihilating enemies like Crushers from a distance. Number 10. Flickering. Shroud Field Zealots that are capable of getting their invisibility back very rapidly, like my Phantom Assassin build, can make use of a technique I've called Flickering. By taking advantage of the guaranteed crit from Shroud Field, we can activate Enduring Faith on our opening attack, giving us a massive toughness damage reduction when we start a fight. On top of that, breaking invisibility with an attack allows us to also activate Invigorating Revelation, giving us a powerful toughness regeneration boost and further damage resistance while battling the enemy. By tactically using Shroud Field in between attacks, you can constantly refresh the damage resistance and toughness regeneration during combat, giving you a huge boost to your survivability while you are fighting. We have Psykers next. Number 11. 97% Brain Burst. A long-time mechanic since the beginning of Darktide, Brain Burst, and by extension Brain Rupture, has the unique property of being able to be fully casted at 97% peril without overloading. This gives you more room to cast in a situation where you can't fully quell your peril. Also, a small tip, you can turn down the peril effects in your settings so you don't have to constantly hear the screaming of the warp while sitting at critical peril. Number 12. Rupturing True Aim. If you have used Brain Burst for a while, you might have observed something. It can stagger enemies right before the cast is complete. This stagger is considered a separate attack and is also considered a weak spot hit. This means, on enemies that can be staggered by Brain Burst, it effectively counts as getting 2 weak spot hits off, with one of the hits basically dealing 0 damage. This allows you to farm up stacks of True Aim very consistently, letting you stockpile up a full stack for a guaranteed range critical hit for future use. In my internal testing for some other Psyker builds, I have used this mechanic to create a Void Surge rocket launcher, giving me a guaranteed double shot attack whenever I need it. Number 13. Venting Save. This is probably one of the most common pieces of advice I give Psyker players whenever I do anything with Venting Shriek in my build. When activated, both Venting Shriek and the base Psykinetics Wrath releases a cone-shaped shockwave that travels up to 30 meters away. It can go through walls, floors, and the ceiling, and its stagger strength scales based on how much peril you have built up. It is probably the most powerful tool in the game for saving teammates that have been pounced by a Poxhound. Even if they are a couple rooms away or on a totally different floor entirely, by getting within 30 meters of them, you can use Venting Shriek to knock the Poxhound away and save your teammate. I always judge how well a Psyker plays among other things based on whether they use their Venting Shriek to save their allies. Even using it to stagger Ragers and Maulers to give your allies some breathing room is a good use of the ability. Don't just hold on to it for emergency peril overload situations. It has a fast cooldown after all. Number 14. Purgatus Overheat. Exceeding the casting cost of your staff when at critical peril will cause you to go into peril overload. However, the Purgatus staff is unique in that it has a much longer channel time than other staffs. A fully charged attack lasts about 3 seconds before finishing, and because you only go into peril overload after the casting is complete, you can technically get one more final cast off even at 100% peril. This buys yourself a little more time to fight while waiting for your Venting Shriek to come off cooldown, and can be very useful if you absolutely need to give your team some vital cover to pull a revive. Number 15. Assailing Airstrike. Despite Assail receiving some nerfs in the past, I think it's still a very powerful blitz and is, in my opinion, in a very good place given the role it's fulfilling. It's not overwhelmingly powerful like it was on launch, but it isn't worthless either. One of the things I've been meaning to do is find out what the damage profile for Assail was, so I could better understand how to maximize its damage. Here are the damage profiles for both the primary and secondary attacks for Assail. Please feel free to pause around here if you want to inspect the damage profiles more closely. As you can see, Assail has a very strong crit and weak spot multiplier of 90%, meaning you'll always want to aim for headshots where you can, since it's almost doing double damage. But because Assail's tracking can sometimes be pretty wonky, I found that casting it into the air above your target makes it come down at an angle that is more likely to land headshots. This is useful in general if your enemies are behind cover, and works well against bulwarks since you can stagger them from behind their shields. Number 17. Deflective Defenses. Whenever I'm using a Force Sword, I always feel compelled to pick up the Deflector Blessing. This not only provides you with a sizable increase to your block efficiency, but it grants you the unique ability to block range attacks like a Slab shield. The presence of this blessing interacts with your talents in a very interconnected way. If you have kinetic deflection, the range attacks you block will cause your peril to increase instead of depleting your stamina. As your peril increases, one with the warp gets stronger, increasing your toughness damage resistance. If you have warp expenditure in your build, every time you build up peril from blocking shots, you regenerate a little bit of toughness, allowing you to get back some of the toughness if you lost it. That little bit of toughness you regenerate is also tougher since one with the warp is active. If you have Quietude, which I assume most builds would have, then after you're done blocking, you have a bunch of peril you can quell to further regenerate more toughness. Having the Deflector Blessing makes getting all of these defensive talents to work when you need it to a lot more consistent and reliable. Number 18. Uncanny Force Push. All Force Swords have a push attack that allows you to stagger a single enemy with a powerful push from up to 9 meters away. This push attack can stagger Maulers and Rages out of their attack combo, and can even knock a Crusher to the ground with a couple of pushes. The interesting thing about the Force Push is that it always counts as a weak spot hit no matter where you aim for. This means it can activate the Uncanny Strike Blessing on your Force Sword, allowing you to build up stacks of Rending which ignores damage resistance from armor. Finally, we have Veterans. Number 19. Bleeding Double Frags. This is one of the earliest combos I've covered, even talking about it in the Hidden Mechanics video I made a while back. Except now, I've learned to do it better. Fragstorm grenades are one of the most powerful grenades in the game. While the blast does alright damage, it's the bleed stacks that it applies that provides the greatest value. A single grenade is probably not going to do very much, other than cause some stagger and deal moderate damage to those caught in the blast. The true power of the Fragstorm grenades lies in tossing them out in pairs and catching enemies in both the explosions. This causes the bleed stacks to double, applying up to 12 stacks of bleed damage to anything hit by both grenades. Most things hit by the blast damage and 12 stacks of bleed will probably end up dying. This is certainly the case for all shooters and shotgunners, making a double toss an effective tactic for wiping out shooters behind cover. But wait, there's more. Because grenades inherit the perks and blessings from the weapons that are currently out, swapping to a weapon with the Skull Crusher blessing causes the frag grenades to apply Skull Crusher to enemies staggered by the blast. This causes the bleed damage to deal increased damage. This is also further enhanced by having the appropriate perk to increase both the blast and bleed damage of the grenade. Depending on how you build your veteran and your weapon, a single grenade alone can be enough to wipe out shooters. Number 20. Bulletproof Rush. This was an interaction that went under the radar even from me until I saw it posted on the Darktide Reddit. By taking a weapon with the Strip Down Blessing, the Duck and Dive talent, and having a decent stamina pool, you are able to become practically invulnerable to range enemy fire as long as you are sprinting and getting shot at. While this looks cool and all, I have not yet been able to find a useful scenario where rushing headfirst into gunfire is supposed to be an advantageous thing to do, especially as a veteran. Maybe I'll find out later. But in the meantime, you can make use of this blessing and talent combo. Number 21. Charismatic Regeneration. This is a talent combo for those of you that like playing support or want to kind of cosplay as a medic with your veteran. By picking up Charismatic, which increases the size of your coherency, Catch a Breath, which allows you to constantly regenerate 5% of your toughness every second as long as there are no enemies near you, and Bond Leader, which lets your allies heal 15% of any toughness you do, you essentially create a toughness healing aura around you. This was made possible because of a recent hotfix which allowed Bond Leader to continue providing toughness regeneration even if you were at full toughness. Here's some math on how effective it is. If you have 200 toughness, which is pretty easy to reach on the veteran, you'll be regenerating 10 toughness every second with Catch a Breath as long as no enemies are nearby. Of this 10 toughness per second, 15% of it is applied to allies as well, giving them a 1.5 toughness per second regeneration. This regeneration is small, but it continues to work even while getting shot at, thus helping mitigate a little bit of chip damage here and there for your allies. As long as enemies are kept at a decent distance away from you, you can constantly provide allies with some toughness regeneration while in combat. Having this talent combo alongside Duty and Honor with the Voice of Command ability, you can easily keep your allies' toughness in good shape with both burst regeneration and constant healing over time. It's not an earth-shatteringly large amount of toughness, but the fact you are able to provide near constant toughness healing to allies passively is a very interesting interaction to me. Number 22. Enhanced Brittleness. For those of you still new to all the in-game lingo, Brittleness is a debuff that you apply to enemies, reducing their armor's damage resistance value. As it is a debuff on the enemy, it also applies to your allies' attacks as well, causing the affected enemy to take more damage from everyone. Rending, on the other hand, is a buff to your own damage output, allowing your own attacks to bypass more damage resistance from armor. Rending only works for you and not your teammates. Now that we have that established, the talent Exploit Weakness is considered a different source of brittleness, unlike that applied from Onslaught and other sources like Thunderous. These do not stack. Taking Exploit Weakness allows you to stack up to 2 sources of brittleness on an enemy for up to 60%, making enemies like Crushers a good deal easier to take down. Keep this in mind if you are looking at ways to deal with Flak or Carapace armor. Number 23. Critical Response Revolver. A weapon-specific talent combo, this one is able to push up the Zarona Revolver's performance through the roof with a near guaranteed crit and is perfect for a melee-centric veteran build. The build centers around the Keystone Weapon Specialist, which gives us a massive increase to our range crit chance whenever we get a melee kill. We'll also need the Always Prepared modifier, which gives us the ability to always have at least one round reloaded whenever we get a melee kill. In addition to this, we'll also be picking up Opening Salvo and Deadshot for a further crit chance boost to the build. This combination of talents allows you to have a Zarona Revolver that is capable of delivering a singular devastating shot without having to reload it as long as you are getting at least one melee kill in between shots. Scoring a melee kill and swapping to your Revolver activates Ranged Specialist from the Keystone. This gives your next shot a plus 33% critical chance buff, and when combined with Opening Salvo, Deadshot, as well as the Revolver's innate critical chance, we can get around 93% critical chance depending on the crit chance stat of your Revolver. Say you whipped out the Revolver to take out a faraway sniper while engaged with a horde. Now, you've got to swap back to your melee weapon to fend off the Poxwalkers and have no time to reload. And since your chamber isn't full, Opening Salvo doesn't activate. But, since you are always prepared, killing one enemy with your melee will reload the Revolver with one round, filling up the chamber and reactivating Opening Salvo, putting you back at a 93% critical chance for when you next pull out the Revolver. All of this takes place before any perks and blessings are on the Revolver, giving you a little more room to experiment without always having to resort to the same couple of blessings. Alright, that is the end of this video. There was a lot that was covered here, so I don't expect anyone to remember everything in one sitting. Come back to this video as and when you are looking for some inspiration for your own build crafting. Maybe something here might give you an idea to test or a build to try. Once again, have a happy new year and a great 2024 ahead. I look forward to having all of you with me as we embark on another year of Darktide. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Varlets.